Hello everyone, today I am especially excited because I'm going to be bringing you a review and discussion of perhaps the best horror film of all time, or at least my favorite horror film of all time, and that is 1985's Return of the Living Dead.
In the dark of the night, something strange is going on.
When Foreman Frank shows new employee Freddy a secret military experiment in a supply warehouse, the two klutzes accidentally release a gas that reanimates corpses into flesh-eating zombies. As the epidemic spreads throughout Louisville, Kentucky, and the creatures satisfy their hunger in gory and outlandish ways, Frank and Freddy fight to survive with the help of their boss and a mysterious mortician. Meanwhile, a group of irreverent punks attempt to combat the seemingly indestructible ghouls in their own way, as the governmental agency responsible for the disaster seeks desperate solutions to control the escalating situation.
Now, what can be said about this film that hasn't already been said at length? Essentially, as far as I know, no other film in horror history has ever managed to perfect the unification of both horror and comedy. Oftentimes when you get films that attempt to basically appeal to both audiences, the horror audience and the comedic audience, you have this sort of tendency to overcompensate one genre for the other. So for example, you may attempt to rely too much on comedy, whereas the horror is completely eliminated in the process, or conversely, you may be attempting to rely too much on horror, in which case the audience can't laugh at what's happening on screen. But with Return of the Living Dead, somehow it manages to find this perfect matching combination of the two genres, and you have this film which is bitingly hilarious on the one hand, but then also at the same time manages to form this magical atmosphere where you're also kind of creeped out at what you're seeing. For its time, the film was highly innovative in terms of introducing new kinds of trends into the zombie subgenre. So for example, as far as I know, Return of the Living Dead was one of the first films to feature things like talking zombies and running zombies. And some people critique the film for this reason, because a lot of people prefer to have this sort of trend of sort of the stalking dead like you might see in something like a George Romero film. But the thing is that Return of the Living Dead implements these new features and these new kind of aspects of the film, of the genre so well that it serves to really bring out a new feel, a much different feel than what you might get from something like a Romero film. To me, the overall atmosphere of the film is perfectly enhanced by these kind of absurdist uses of zombie quotes. So you get wonderful quotes like "send more cops" or "send more paramedics." And things like this. And this accompanied with, again, the fact that they're running and kind of setting up traps and are unlike any other zombie that you've really ever seen, really helps to create this kind of really fun and intriguing atmosphere which never gets tiresome. The characters in this movie are absolutely amazing. They are funny and witty and have perfect timing. The way in which the characters interact with each other, it creates these amazing scenes which, again, make you giggle. But at the same time, sort of create this odd sort of relatability that you might kind of feel if you were in the same type of situation. And furthermore, the soundtrack, not enough can actually be said about just how incredible the soundtrack is and how well it fits with the overall theme of the movie. Sociologically speaking, it really manages to capture kind of the punk trends of the era. But also, one thing that you can say about the majority of horror films is that the parts are more than the whole, and that is to say that oftentimes horror movies cannot maintain an entertaining kind of feel throughout the entire running time. Oftentimes they start to really decline as the film goes on. They start out strong, but then they really end up terribly. But with Return of the Living Dead, almost the opposite kind of happens. It basically creates this perfect build-up, and then the middle is highly entertaining, and then as it gets toward the end, you actually start liking the movie even more. And then at the very end, of course, I won't exactly give away spoilers, but in my view, the end is perfectly fitting and possibly one of the greatest endings in all of horror. So that essentially summarizes my thoughts and views of Return of the Living Dead. Again, my favorite horror movie of all time. If you haven't seen this movie, please do yourself a favor and all of your friends a favor and recommend it highly and watch it with them, because it's guaranteed to be an absolutely amazing time, and I promise you that you will love this movie. So thanks for watching, and remember you can watch Return of the Living Dead as well as over 600 other movies on 80shorror.net.